My friend demanded I let her stay in my apartment rent-free, saying, "You have more money, so you owe me this." When I refused, she moved in anyway while I was at work. Furious, I called the landlord, and the next day, she came home to find all her stuff on the curb and a note that read, "You owe me rent." I live in Lincoln Park, Chicago, a neighborhood known for its tree-lined streets, historic brownstones, and vibrant community. My apartment, a modest one-bedroom on the third floor of a classic walk-up, has been my sanctuary for the past 5 years. It's a place where I unwind after long days at work, enjoying the solitude and comfort I've cultivated. Sarah and I have been friends since our college days at DePaul University. We bonded over late-night study sessions, shared ambitions, and dreams of making it big in the city. After graduation, our paths diverged slightly. While I secured a stable job in marketing, Sarah pursued a career in the arts, which, though fulfilling, was financially unstable. Over the years, we maintained our friendship, meeting up for coffee at local spots like La Colombe on Armitage Avenue or grabbing a bite at Budlong Hot Chicken. Sarah's struggles were apparent, but she always managed to get by, often relying on short-term gigs and the support of her boyfriend, Mark. A few months ago, Sarah's relationship with Mark ended abruptly. The breakup was messy, leaving her emotionally and financially drained. To make matters worse, she lost her part-time job at a local gallery due to budget cuts. With no steady income and nowhere to stay, Sarah reached out to me. One chilly evening, as the wind howled through the narrow streets of Lincoln Park, my phone buzzed. It was Sarah. Her voice trembled as she recounted her recent misfortunes. "I don't know where else to go," she admitted. "Can I crash at your place for a bit? Just until I find my footing." Her plea tugged at my heartstrings. Memories of our college days flooded back, the times she had been there for me, the secrets we'd shared. However, the thought of sharing my small apartment made me uneasy. I valued my personal space and routines. Still, I couldn't ignore her desperation. "Let me think about it," I replied, buying myself some time. That night, sleep eluded me. I weighed the pros and cons, considering the potential strain on our friendship and my own need for solitude. By morning, I had made a decision. We met at Armitage Alehouse the next day. The ambience was warm, a stark contrast to the cold tension I felt. After ordering our drinks, I took a deep breath and said, "Sarah, I've thought about your request. I care about you, and I want to help, but I don't think it's a good idea for us to live together." Her face fell, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But why?" "I thought we were friends." "We are," I assured her. "But I cherish my personal space. I can help you find other accommodations or lend you some money to get by." She nodded slowly, her expression unreadable. "I understand." We parted ways, and I hoped our friendship would survive this hurdle. Days turned into weeks. Our communication dwindled, and I assumed Sarah had found another solution. Then, one evening, after a grueling day at work, I returned to my apartment to find the door slightly ajar. Alarmed, I pushed it open to a scene that left me speechless. Boxes and suitcases cluttered the living room. The scent of lavender, Sarah's favorite, permeated the air. And there she was, lounging on my couch, scrolling through her phone as if she owned the place. "Sarah? What are you doing here?" My voice was a mix of confusion and anger. She looked up, unfazed. "Oh, hey." I moved in. "You have more money, so you owe me this." I was dumbfounded. "I told you I wasn't comfortable with you staying here." She shrugged. "I had nowhere else to go. Besides, it's just temporary." Taking a deep breath, I tried to remain calm. "Sarah, this isn't right. You can't just move in without my permission." "Come on," she said, rolling her eyes. "Don't be so selfish." Feeling violated and disrespected, I knew I had to take action. I stepped outside and called my landlord, Mr. Thompson, explaining the situation. He listened patiently and assured me he'd handle it. The next morning, while Sarah was out, a team arrived and carefully moved all her belongings to the curb. A note was left on top, "You owe me rent." When Sarah returned, she was livid. "How could you do this to me?" she shouted. How could you invade my home without consent? I retorted, this isn't about money, it's about respect. Tears streamed down her face as she gathered her things. Without another word, she left. The experience left me shaken. Trust had been broken, and our friendship was beyond repair. I learned the importance of boundaries and the necessity of standing up for oneself, even when it's difficult. Reflecting on the events, I realized that sometimes helping someone doesn't mean sacrificing your own well-being. It's essential to find a balance between compassion and self-respect. I tried to move on. The silence in my apartment felt louder after Sarah left. Her lavender candle scent still clung to the air like a bad memory. I thought that was the end of it. That she'd move on too. That maybe she'd be mad for a while, but she'd understand eventually. She didn't. The next week, I started getting weird texts from unknown numbers. One said, "Nice job throwing your friend to the curb. Must be nice having money and no soul." Another, "Hope karma finds you soon." At first, I ignored them. Then they started coming daily. Different numbers. Same tone. Vague threats. Some even called me by name. One night, I got a message that just said, "Better watch your back, traitor." I didn't want to believe Sarah was behind it. But who else knew the details? Who else would care enough to keep this going? I blocked every number. Changed some of my settings. But it didn't stop. Then, one night, I came home to find the lock on my apartment door jammed. Like someone had stuck something inside. I had to call a locksmith who said it looked intentional. "Someone's messing with you," he muttered while replacing the cylinder. It rattled me. I checked every window, every drawer. Nothing was stolen. But something about the air felt wrong, like someone had been inside. I decided to install a camera just above my front door, just in case. A few days later, I got a notification while I was at work. Motion detected. I opened the app and saw her. Sarah. She stood there for a while, wearing a hoodie pulled low, but I knew it was her. Same posture. Same jacket she used to leave at my place. She didn't knock. Didn't try the door. Just stared at it. Then she pulled something out of her bag. It was a small piece of paper. She taped it to the door and walked away. I left work early. The note read, "You turned your back on the wrong person." I never forget. I took it straight to the landlord and showed him the footage. He wasn't surprised. "She's been calling my office too," he said. "Pretending to be you. Asking for a spare key. Said she left her dog inside. You don't even have a dog." I felt sick. This wasn't just about crashing at my place anymore. This was something else. Obsession. Revenge. I wasn't even sure what she wanted anymore. Just to scare me? That weekend, I stayed at a friend's place just to breathe. When I got back Monday morning, I found a fresh coffee cup on my doorstep. My favorite order. From the coffee shop 2 blocks away. My name spelled correctly on the side. I hadn't ordered it. Inside the lid was a napkin with one word, "Remember." I didn't even pick it up. I called the cops. They said without her breaking in, or without a restraining order violation, there wasn't much they could do. But I could file a report. So I did. I started to look over my shoulder everywhere I went. Started sitting at the back of the train. Took different routes home. I stopped posting online altogether. It felt like Sarah knew everything I did. Then I made a mistake. I vented to a coworker about what was going on. Someone I thought I could trust. He listened, nodded, gave me a half-sympathetic smile. The next day, Sarah's account posted a screenshot of our work schedule on Instagram. My full name was circled in red. I kept my profile private. There was no way she could have seen that. Unless someone told her. That's when I realized someone at work was feeding her info. Either on purpose or because she was pretending to be someone else. Maybe both. I didn't know who. I couldn't trust anyone. I started carrying pepper spray. I changed my number. I stopped going to any place I used to go regularly. Friends started asking why I'd gone ghost. What was I supposed to say? My former friend is stalking me because I wouldn't let her stay at my apartment? It sounded insane. One night, around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. A FaceTime call. Unknown number. I let it ring. It buzzed again. I picked up and muted it, not saying a word. All I saw was a close-up of someone holding a lighter, then the screen shifted. It was a photo of me and Sarah, taken years ago at Montrose Beach. She was burning it slowly, edge by edge, letting the fire eat through our smiles. Then the call ended. The next day, I filed for a restraining order. But Sarah didn't show up to the hearing. The judge gave me a temporary one anyway. Still, the anxiety didn't stop. Every time I opened my door, I braced myself. Every time I heard footsteps behind me, my heart jumped. I don't know what her endgame is. I don't know if she wants me scared, ruined, or both. All I know is, I didn't just lose a friend. I gained a nightmare I can't wake up from. Things started to quiet down after the restraining order. No more calls. No coffee cups. No notes. I was still on edge, but at least it seemed like she got the message. 3 weeks passed. Longest peace I'd had since this mess began. I thought maybe she had finally moved on. Then I got called into HR at work. They said someone filed a formal complaint about me. An anonymous tip claimed I'd been hostile, emotionally manipulative, and abusive to a vulnerable woman. There was a printed email included in the report, supposedly from Sarah, outlining how I coerced her into moving out, after promising she could stay as long as needed. It was all lies. Every word. But HR had to look into it. They put me on a 2-week paid leave pending investigation. I was humiliated. I'd worked at that company for 7 years. Clean record. Good performance. Never even raised my voice in a meeting. Now I was suddenly this monster? I knew it had to be Sarah. No one else would go to this level of detail. But how did she get the email into the system? That's when it clicked. The coworker I'd vented to, the one who gave me the weird half-smile, he was the one. She must have contacted him somehow. Maybe through social media, maybe she faked being someone else again. Either way, she got to him. While I was out on leave, I went through my own version of investigation. Checked all my social accounts. Found a new follower on an old Instagram account I barely used. Username was a random string of letters and numbers, but when I looked closer, the bio said, "Helping good people get justice." It had a profile pic of a dog. The same breed Sarah used to say she wanted, a Samoyed. Creepy. I made the account private and blocked them. I also checked LinkedIn. Someone had recently viewed my profile from an unknown private account. It listed no name. No info. Just consultant. Truth advocate. At this point, it felt like I was living in a thriller movie, but with no script, no logic. Just endless paranoia. Then I found something worse. I got a credit alert. Someone tried opening a store card in my name at a furniture chain. They had my address, full name, phone number, and a close enough version of my signature to almost pass. I called the company, froze my credit, filed a fraud report. The rep on the phone asked, "Do you know a Sarah last name?" I froze. She tried to use you as a co-signer. I couldn't speak. Just thanked the guy and hung up. This wasn't about just being angry anymore. She was trying to mess up my life completely, financially, socially, emotionally. I went back to the police with all the new info. They were more helpful this time, took everything seriously. The investigator reviewed the camera footage I saved from before, and now with the credit fraud attempt, they said they'd open a full case. Still, the damage wasn't done. A week later, I ran into Mark, Sarah's ex. We hadn't spoken since they split, but he saw me at Trader Joe's and waved me down. "Hey," he said, "can we talk?" We sat outside. He looked tired. Pale. Like life had wrung him out. He told me Sarah had done the same thing to him. She moved in, temporarily, after she lost a job. Then she started planting seeds with his friends, saying he was controlling, that he threatened her. She'd log into his computer when he wasn't home, snoop through emails, even sent messages to coworkers pretending to be him. "She ruined my job," he said, rubbing his face, "and made it look like I did it to myself." He said he finally kicked her out after she forged a sick note from his boss, trying to get him fired for skipping meetings. But by the time he got her out, the damage was already done. And get this, she tried to press charges against him for emotional abuse. even filed a police report. He had to lawyer up just to clear his name. She's sick, he said. Like, actually sick. Not just angry. She builds these stories in her head and believes them. That night, I couldn't sleep. What Mark said kept spinning in my head. Was this going to end the same way for me? And then, the last twist, at least for now. The woman who moved into the unit below mine knocked on my door one afternoon. I think you should know, she said. There's been a woman sitting in a car across the street. Same car. Every night. Just watching the building. She described the car. A dark blue Mazda. I knew it. Sarah's. She was still around. Still watching. I didn't say anything to the neighbor, just thanked her and went back inside. But I stayed up that night, staring out the window through the blinds. And sure enough, there it was. Parked across the street. Lights off. Engine dead. Just waiting. This isn't over. I know it. I just don't know how much further she'll go or what she's waiting for. I couldn't live like that anymore. Watching my own window, jumping at every buzz from my phone, wondering if I was going to lose my job or worse. I wanted it to stop. I wanted my life back. But every time I tried to just move forward, she was there. In the shadows. In the small things. A liked post from a fake account. A missed call from an unknown number. A feeling that I was never really alone, even inside my own home. I was angry. Tired. But I wasn't going to let her win. So I did something I hadn't done before. I started keeping records. Printed every email. Saved every message. Took screenshots. Dates. Times. I logged every sighting of her car, even took pictures through my window when I could. And I hired a lawyer. Not a cheap one. I burned through a chunk of my savings, but it felt worth it. I told him everything start to finish. He listened. Then he called in a private investigator. Within a few weeks, the PI found out Sarah had been using 3 fake identities. One of them was how she'd gotten inside my work. Another one was linked to that attempt to co-sign a credit card. The third? She was renting a room in an apartment under a false name, about 5 blocks from mine. I didn't even know she was living that close. The investigator also traced one of the numbers from the anonymous HR complaint. It linked back to a burner phone that, according to a nearby store's security footage, Sarah had bought herself. We had evidence now. Real, provable stuff. My lawyer filed a civil harassment suit. We served her at that apartment she'd been hiding out in. The police came with us and she tried to slam the door. She screamed that she was being framed and that I was trying to erase her life. But it was on paper now. And it was going to court. It didn't stop her, though. She posted a long, rambling message online about me, using a throwaway account. It claimed I was part of a system that destroys vulnerable women and accused me of things I didn't even understand. She named my job, my street, even hinted at where my parents lived. That was the final straw. With the help of my lawyer and the PI, I filed for a permanent restraining order. I also filed a criminal complaint for identity fraud, cyberstalking, and harassment. Then something wild happened. A reporter picked up the story. A small piece at first about modern harassment cases and how social media can be weaponized. They never used our full names, but the story blew up locally. People in my building started asking questions. A few coworkers reached out, offering support. My HR team dropped the complaint and apologized. But the best part? The court sided with me. Sarah was found guilty of cyber harassment and using false identity for financial gain. The judge granted a 5-year restraining order. She was fined and given probation. Her fake rental agreement was exposed, and she was evicted. The apartment was trashed. Landlord said it was filled with old boxes, cut-up photos, even printed out emails and photos of me from years ago. It was obsessive. Like she had turned her entire life into a mission to destroy mine. Still, I wasn't perfect either. I should have drawn clearer lines from the start. I let guilt talk me into soft boundaries. I didn't see the signs when things started to go sideways. I didn't speak up soon enough. By the time I took action, the damage was already deep. I lost friends. I lost peace. I almost lost my career, but I got it back. I moved. Not far, just enough to breathe. I changed numbers, got a new job offer and took it. Fresh start. And one day I saw her at the edge of Grant Park. She was sitting alone on a bench, scribbling something in a notebook. She looked small, worn out, nothing like the person I used to know. She didn't see me. Or maybe she did and just didn't react. I stood there for a few minutes, watching her from a distance. And then I turned and walked away. That part of my life was over, but I'll never forget it.